cheese with your nachos for the last 8 years.
I remember this.
There
They
is
had to request a new server.
There is always a scoop of cream cheese with my nachos.
Jesus Christ.
They take 3 tostadas and lightly layer cream cheese on them,
I went through the process with
and
this
then
one.
take a layer of refried beans.
Oh, but she had been going there for X amount of
I've
time.
been going. I come
Hey guys.
here
Hey guys.
twice a month. And really, I come here fucking 5-6 times a week.
Game of Thrones spoilers coming up. Get ready. Just kidding. None of us have seen it. Besides 2/3 of this group.
2/3 of us.
We actually, because I'm pretty sure we've talked about this over the podcast, at the fact that
You should never spoil anything.
no, you never spoil anything, but we mentioned on the podcast that you were going to catch me up on 7 seasons,
And I did.
and he did.
I did
It was
successfully.
very humorous, very enjoyable. There's no video footage of this, but
No.
he caught me up.
Took about 12 minutes.
4 shots, 12 minutes, 1 natty light, and I was caught up with the Lannisters, the Starks, the whole debacle.
And the Baratheons.
And then I sat down and watched the last episode, and then the episode ended, and there were credits, and then now I'm here. That's all I'm gonna say.
Han Solo died.
Han Solo motherfucking died, man. Han
One
Solo
big bug
died.
blood, blue bug blood. The other big bug blood, black.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't think Paul's
Stop
ready.
smiling
I don't think
like-
Paul's
stop
ready
s-
for this podcast,
Yeah,
man.
stop
He's
smiling
literally-
like the Grinch and let's fucking do this thing.
He's confused by this whole thing that's about to happen, but he doesn't know that the next 2 hours are going to be fucking gold. God damn it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be new. Insights you've never heard before. Philosophies you've never heard before. You're going to have to console someone because your soul will be such at asunder at the end of all this that you're going to question the very essence of your being at the end of these 2 podcasts we're about to come up with tonight.
I'm
Because we're back to
so
back in
down
it
with
tonight.
that.
We're
Don't
back
worry,
to back
Paul. I
in
got
it
you.
tonight.
Hey guys, welcome to Talk Junkies. We're live, pretending to be live.
Yeah.
definitely. Hey, I've been switching it up, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm not. I know we're not live. I just like to say it. It sounds cool. One day.
Everybody likes to say it. One day.
I mean, hey, that's just a lot more equipment I have to buy in order for us
No,
to go live.
it's not. You don't.
It is, yeah. Definitely.
No, you don't have to buy any equipment for us to go live. We can
No,
go live right now.
I'm saying with the camera. That
Right now.
is
Right
hooked
now?
up
Right now, we can go
can't-
live.
We can't. Not with the camera that I have. You have to have other equipment to hook that camera. We would have to use the webcam.
Oh, okay. You're correct. You would have to plug that in to the computer,
Right.
and then you just get OBS or whatever, and it works fucking fine, and we'd be live,
Right.
and everything's Gucci.
Exactly.
But you have a webcam, so technically I was right. We could be live right now.
It's very true, but we all 3 would have to sit next to each other, which who cares?
That's what we're already doing.
We would have to sit really close to each other to be in the view of the webcam.
Or you could just
I'm
not have
pretty
video.
sure you could do some
All
like
right, moving on from the whether we're
yeah,
live or not.
Yeah. Get it off. Bro.
Should we stop
Get it off.
this and go live?
No,
No, get it
no.
off.
Okay.
Get it off. Let's
Well,
just do what we do. Do what we do.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies. Check it out today. We have a few things that we want to talk about. Don't listen to Jesse when he says we're doubling it up. We're literally just doing a single podcast tonight.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
just
saying?
single podcast.
Dude, your wink was like that was nuts.
God damn it. Damn it.
Hardcore.
Nobody cares. No, you can okay, you can delete this if you want to, but you can straight up tell the people
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that like Paul's getting ready to have a baby.
Yes.
That's fucking nutso. He's getting ready to
Yeah.
have a fucking
Another child.
newborn child up in here. So our plan was to record 2 podcasts, and we'll let out one of them whenever the fuck we want, whenever that baby comes out. If it takes another 9 months, that's pretty fucked up. That's Carrie Ann's fault. But
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be live. Or she would be.
Giant baby at that point.
it just comes out.
Just crazy.
It's just
like,
another Paul.
It just like busts out of her stomach.
just, yeah. Like
Some aliens shit.
drafted, like Alabama fucking center lineman. Just, ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a shout out to That Bookie. Go and subscribe to our 164 subscribers. That Bookie, a new girl that we just hired where we work at. She's an awesome server.
Wait. That Bookie?
That Bookie, yeah.
She's been subscribed for a while now. You brought up That Bookie as a name like 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Shit you not? Yeah, she's commented before, I'm pretty sure.
Well, no,
Don't quote me on this. I'm not
Yeah.
100%, but I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure last week you were like
Well, no,
shouting out our new subscribers, and you were like, and
Oh,
that
like
bookie.
towards the end of the podcast, we were talking
Yeah,
about it or something.
I mean, you
yeah.
didn't actually give a shout out.
I remember that now.
But
I
I'm
remember
saying that bookie definitely sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
So either way, just Johnny's right, but go subscribe to her. She reads some books and then she talks about it, and it's good. It's short. It's not too long like our podcast. Granted, podcasts are long.
I wish I read books more.
Same. I just can't do it.
I know how to read. I just don't enjoy it like I did when I was younger.
I don't even know if I can read anymore. I'm
And-
pretty sure that I just recognize a lot of words.
One
man.
fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. I'll get you all caught up. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Dude, in high school, I read a shit ton of books. A lot of books.
Me too. I'm pretty sure
You had
everybody
to in high
kind of
school to pass
required
high school.
It was, instead of doing schoolwork, I just read books. That's all I did. John Grisham series, done. Dean Koontz,
I mean, I love Dean Koontz. Dean Koontz is actually my favorite author.
Yeah, same. Well, one of my favorite. But James Patterson, all those books, I just read them all, man. Like, I didn't even care about school. I just read books, junior and senior year. But yeah, check her out. Let her know that Talk Junkie sent you when you comment below. And that's really all I got on that.
For sure.
All right. So, anyways, one topic I've been wanting to just kind of go over tonight is just I want us to shed light on the war in Iran, or not the war in Iran, but what's going on with Iran right now. Some crazy stuff's happening. We've had a podcast about how
We talked about it a little.
a little bit, but not. We haven't went into detail on what's actually going on with Iran right now. And I know in previous podcasts we've talked about like World War III and stuff like that, and how you guys think that it's never going to happen. You think that a war could happen, but it wouldn't be on a scale of mass death or mass
Or genocide or anything like
or
that.
genocide
No, I don't.
Because-
We've talked about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the nations are too intertwined right now. The economies are too intertwined. It would
We've-
be
we've
too
reached-
detrimental to us to be in a
Yeah,
war
yeah,
with another
I don't wanna
country.
go over that
Yeah,
same
Even if
podcast.
people don't
Just to
realize
give
it,
you a
we've
general-
reached a world
just a
economy.
general. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I agree with all those things, but at the same time, when you see shit like this that's happening, that's going on right now, for starters, and this is one thing, that the State Department ordered non-emergency staff to leave Iraq amid the things that are happening in Iran right now. So anyone who's in Iraq right now that's a U.S. official or it's affiliated with the United States, they said, hey, you should probably get the fuck out of there.
I feel like that's happened before, though. I feel like this is not the first time that's happened.
Well, it hadn't happened in a while. I mean,
I'm
like,
pretty sure that happened during. I mean, it depends on your definition of a while, but I'm pretty sure that happened during Desert Shield or Desert Storm, whatever the fuck it was called, like 1998 or some shit like that.
for sure. And what happened in
Which is, I guess, that's like 20 years.
And what happened?
Hmm?
What happened?
No, same kind of thing. Where like all the government officials and like the non-essential personnel and shit,
Sure.
they were like, get the fuck out.
And then what happened after that?
I don't know. I was 8 years old and I didn't pay attention to politics. I
Uh,
barely pay attention to politics now.
We went to war, Desert Storm, man.
We were
There's-
in war already
right.
before that.
But then some bombs went off, some people died.
I don't, man.
Where's Mike Anderson for this podcast,
War-
man?
I would love to. I would
I feel
love.
like Mike Anderson should be on for this one.
would love to talk to Mike Anderson about this, but I personally feel, and I don't know, I'm just some random fucking jerk off sitting in a room right now talking about shit. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But honestly, like, I feel like war these days has become a. Honestly, even since Vietnam, I would say before Vietnam, like, war has become, it's very much just a political statement. And publicity is the wrong word, but it's the only word I can think of right now.
Okay.
But it is a publicity, like I said, this is the wrong word, but a publicity move in a sense. Like, it's World War II, you had a thing there. You had mass genocide and the destruction of an entire kind of like race and religion kind of thing, the Jewish people and all this stuff. Like, but everything we do now is very much just a. I mean, you talk about like oil, and then we're like, oh, North Korea has nukes. We don't want them to have nukes, so we should be ready for that, and we should be ready for China, even though we buy like 80% of our shit from China, so on and so forth. Like what Jesse said earlier, we've reached a point of like, we're a world economy. Any of this stuff you're seeing war-wise seems very much like surface level shit that the population cares about, when really any kind of real war kind of style stuff, like countries actually fighting about things, I feel like is happening behind the scenes. Like on the internet, hacking, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you could have that perspective of...
And I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I'm just some
Exactly.
random asshole.
And I'm not saying that it could be wrong, but at the same time, like, you can't ignore the things that are happening right now. And that was one of many instances of what I just said, what is going on right now with Iran.
I think whenever you look at war in general as the past, is you saw these separate factions of when it came to how to handle money. You had
And religion.
capitalism
And religion.
and religion the majority of the time too. I don't. It can't be so much religion anymore. Nobody has religious wars.
Not anymore, but you said the past wars.
Oh,
religion has a
absolutely.
lot.
Okay, that's real past. I'm talking about more current past has been based off money, and due to the separate factions on how people view political and economic shit, which is either capitalism, fascism,
Communism, fascism.
yeah, those main three, and then you had the big one between capitalism and socialism, and then kind of the dying out of that, and then capitalism is kind of taken hold over the world economy. The world economy, as of right now, you'd say is more capitalist than anything else.
The world economy.
Yeah,
yes.
the world economy is more capitalist than anything else. So it would have to be a war based on. It can't be religion anymore. So it's based off a monetary thing that is a subset of now capitalism, which is why you won't ever see a World War III because there's not a battle between those three factions anymore.
Let me go in a little bit to what you just said. So when you talk about a capitalism and you see what's the benefit of going into war with Iran, and I forget what general it was. He was a high-ranking general, and this was before I don't remember which year, and I forget which general it was, but it was within the past 15 years. And he came out and he said after he retired, he's been on video. You can check the YouTube videos out. And he's just like, we're going to go to war with these Middle East countries, and it's going to go in order like this, or it's going to be these 6 countries or 7 countries, and it's legitimately all these countries. It's happened. And Iran's legitimately the last country that we have to go to war with.
That just means he's smart enough to know what he's talking.
Well, no. But anyways, when it comes to capitalism, you have to see the benefit for what our economy needs or what it wants, and it's oil, obviously. And I have no idea what's truly going on, and if we really are trying to go to war with Iran specifically just for oil, do we want to go into that country, invade it, and like we did Iraq and Afghanistan, take control over their oil, and then we have control over all of the world's oil, But when you talk about war, and specifically a catastrophe when it pertains to war, this is very big because the main export for China when it comes to oil is Iran. And we put sanctions on Iran and said to everyone in the world, you cannot buy oil from Iran anymore.
You really don't think that behind the scenes, though, we've already talked to China and hashed this shit out?
I don't know. I mean,
you really think that we did that? It affects their economy.
People think I'm crazy conspiracy-wise. You know? I mean, that in a sense, that's conspiracy.
We put this embargo or whatever you want to call it on oil out of Iran and whatnot, and that affects China, right? The amount of product we get from China, you really don't think that behind the scenes? I'm not talking the president. I'm talking some fucking deep cover bullshit here. You don't think we've already talked to them and hashed this shit out? And I'm still going back to what we said at the very beginning of this. It's a world economy. It doesn't work that way anymore. It just doesn't work that way anymore.
If things weren't so connected and you really wanted to go to war with a country that for the resources, right? What you would do is, because chances are they need America to export their oil for us to be able to use it, you would, as a nation, to truly defeat them, what you would do is you would come up with a new technology that doesn't require their resource, and then you crash their fucking economy. You come up with something.
That's how you would actually defeat them.
That is how you actually defeat them, and that's why this isn't about fucking war or anything.
But
the true way to defeat them. This is why this is all kind of like a bullshit thing, and this is conspiracy theory. Don't get me wrong. This is conspiracy theory. It's why they need little conflicts like this back and forth to maintain a little bit of fear here, a little bit of fear there, to keep everybody controlled and in their place. It's probably what this is, because a true way to defeat an enemy is you crash their fucking economy. To crash their economy is you look at their main export, which is these countries are oil, right? Mm-hmm. All you do, you spend X amount of money, whatever it takes, you fucking create new technologies that no longer requires oil to be, now it's irrelevant. Now it's pointless. You crash their fucking shit. Now they're worthless.
Which makes their country irrelevant and pointless.
And completely irrelevant, and you crash their economy. But that is how you win fucking wars. You don't win it through killing people anymore. You kill their economy.
But I disagree with that statement, just for the simple fact that we all rely on oil, and we've all specifically relied on oil for such a long time that you couldn't just specifically do that to Iran.
We haven't relied on oil for very long at all.
For our generation and a little bit
our
before then,
generation, I guess.
dude,
but
oil is the most heavily relied on substance
in the spectrum of time and
everyone's
where
life.
technology has come from.
We-
You don't think that we could spend more time and all of a sudden create a new source of
fucking solar power, electric powered cars, all this shit.
But all
fucking
that takes oil.
hydrogen powered
But right
shit
now-
and fucking water powered shit. All this stuff, and we have
geothermal energy?
we have a fucking.
I love geothermal energy.
We talked about this last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. The fact that the companies right now that exist, fucking ExxonMobil, all this different shit, they have enough oil backed up right now to where
Right.
we could stop drilling and still use oil for the next 5 years at an
Right.
expanding rate.
No, I get all that. I get all that, but at the same time, we all rely on it. So
We rely on it because
So I just to Jesse's statement, I don't think that we're going to just come out with a new technology and then stop oil production within the United States just to hurt their economy. I don't see that happening.
no, you're right.
That's
we won't.
how you kill a country,
no,
though.
no, you're
That's how
right.
you
We
kill a
won't. You know
country.
why? Because it's not a real fucking war.
It's not.
But none of us know that.
It's not a real. It's all some bullshit play to keep everybody fearful and
Yeah,
and that's all it is.
and I
Keep
agree.
people fearful.
If it was a this sounds so fucked up. If it was
Resource-based economy.
no, if it was a real war and all this stuff, and there were people being, if it was a real war where there's mass genocide and a true like detriment to, it's not about resources. If it was about like a detriment to humanity, for example, World War II and the Holocaust and all this different shit, you would see a draft again. You would see a draft again if we cared enough about this war.
But they don't need boots on the ground anymore. Think about it like this. I mean, truly, if what you guys are saying,
You would if there was a mass genocide kind of thing going on.
if what you guys
You're
are
talking about
if
resources though that aren't actually needed. They're just like perceived
So
as
you-
fucking needed.
you truly think we're to a point where everyone is in agreement behind closed doors within a small circle that there's someone within Iran that is in contact with the United States and China and all this shit.
Yeah, I do.
And they're just like, yeah, let's just do this, let's just do that.
Yeah,
We're gonna
I
play
do.
along with this and play along with that. I don't agree, man. Whenever you have these rich fucking elite people who are so cynical and so absolute garbage trash, in my opinion, they're not all gonna agree. They're not all gonna come together and say we're gonna do it this way, that way.
They're
that
all
way.
going to agree on the fact that they want to be richer, and you said they're garbage and they're trash and so on and so forth. Do you really think that that garbage, trash, rich person is going to care if it destroys his own country and hurts civilians in his country, if it means he becomes more wealthy out of it?
And it's a possibility, or maybe he was a part of that circle and he said, hey, like, no, I'm not down with this, and this is exactly what's happening because of it. Because if he didn't agree, then boom, that's exactly what you're gonna get. Your country's about to get fucked up in whatever way, fashion that we see.
I get that. I get that. The last point you made, actually, that makes sense, and I understand that. But then I feel like it would go to what Jesse said, where we would just be like, we might not go to all electric and all that stuff because the companies that we have right now still want to make a shit ton of money off of oil and keep us fucking bound to oil for our lives and shit. But they would be like, yo, we have enough oil and we can get oil in fucking Alaska or Antarctica or where the fuck ever. We don't need you. And they would destroy their economy that way without war. If that random fucking elite guy you're talking about just disagreed.
Right. Well,
I feel like we're like going in a circle here all the way back to like 3 podcasts ago when we talked about World War III and the fact that you believe it could happen and both of us believe that it couldn't happen.
I just want to shed light on to any of our subscribers who haven't heard about what's going on with the United States and Iran and China, because it's very important, regardless of what we know or what we don't know and what we believe and what we don't believe. I mean, shit is happening regardless of the situation. Like I said, if it's real or not. We're in conflict with these countries. There are tariffs, both ways, from China to here and
You
from
say
here
we're
to China.
you say we're in conflict, but have you ever felt in conflict?
Well, when prices start to raise up because China's putting tariffs on their goods sent over to the United States, then yes, we're in conflict.
Prices raised up when I was fucking 16 years old, and it went to fucking $4 a gallon or whatever after 9/11 and all that shit.
Right, and that affects absolutely every single person. Yes, so we all have been affected because
Man, that doesn't affect me that much at all. You're talking about prices raising and shit and so on and so forth. Like, money's not that people overvalue money. I know that money is the value that you purchase everything with your life in and whatnot, so on and so forth, but that's a problem in and of itself. Like,
I think if anything, this next wave, and you call a war, is an intellectual one. It's not one that's fought on front lines like how it was back in the 50s with the last World War. This new one is an intellectual one, where information is held.
Wasn't the last
The
World
new-
War ended in like 44?
Yeah,
45,
you're right.
45.
You're right.
You
You're right.
definitely
okay,
wasn't in the
okay, so
50s.
the 40s.
Would
I'm
you
sorry.
consider-
So the 40s. So this is what I'm saying. The new war that's happening isn't for land. It isn't for resources because it's a connected world economy. The resources will always be there, and everybody is too intertwined with each other to be able to get out of the grasp of the other one because everybody's so reliant upon everybody else throughout the world. It's interconnected. The new front that you're battling now is information. Where is information? Where can you keep people's minds at is way more important. Who can start to predict what people are going to do? How can you control the actions of people? And you've seen that way more blatantly than a true world war. Being drafted isn't going to affect people so much, but look at how if you can affect the minds of human beings, now you have the world. Because the world is not resources, it's within people's minds that govern it. If you can start to control that now, because that's the true battleground.
They've been controlling that for a very long time.
I know,
No,
but
but-
that's what I'm saying. That that is more potent right
so
now.
so these
And I think
modern
that's
day
actually
wars
something
are
that's-
just another part of that. Then you've already got
it's an intellectual
Well,
one.
it doesn't have to be.
you've already got
So you're saying that-
advertising and everything else that already like controls your fucking world and the way that you view things.
But so you're saying that there's no conflict within these higher up peoples? I don't believe that. I don't think that
no,
they're all like
absolutely
in,
there
in
are.
tune and in with each other. There
I
has to
also
be some
don't.
sort of
I also
conflict.
don't think that they would be
There's-
higher up peoples if they weren't smart enough to understand basic.
They're humans just like
Logic.
we are, and I don't care how many amounts of money that they have. There's still going to be conflict. It's not going to be all peaches and fucking strawberries.
No,
I'm not
everything
saying there
shifts.
wouldn't be
Everything
any
shifts. There will
conflict.
always be conflict. There will always be conflict until the great AI takes
Right.
over.
And so then when you have that much money and you have that
Right.
much power,
And then it
and you can-
transcends.
and you can create war, how can you say that won't happen? And I'm not saying on a mass level, but would you say 100,000 troops sent over to Iran right now, would that be considered war?
I mean, yeah, on paper,
In 100,000 people, and I know to Johnny it's not that many people, but I mean that's a lot of
That's-
troops.
I mean that's 100,000 people's nothing. What's the world population?
Allegedly 7 billion people.
So 100,000 is nothing.
I mean, when you talk about war, I think it's
Absolutely, you need to respect human lives, but I think he's
Oh,
talking
no,
about it in
obviously, I'm not-
comparison to previous wars and previous death
Right.
rates and,
Yeah.
and things like that.
So,
Like, in comparison, this is a conflict. This is not a war.
the
And-
New York Post or something like that, or the New York Times, they came out with a post saying that Trump allegedly said that he's going to send 120,000 troops out onto sea close to the borders of Iran or something like that because of how they're threatening us. And then the reporters were asking Trump, like, hey, is it true? Is it true? And he's like, well, where did you hear it from? And they're like, and he's like, oh, the New York Post. Oh, yeah, that's right. Fake news. He's like, if things get serious, he's like, I'm going to send way more troops than that. Is exactly what he said.
He's going to send out so many Twitter posts if things get serious. Because that's how Trump
Either way,
communicates.
like I said, I just wanted to shed light. Things are happening right now. Things are going on. Basically, we pulled out of the nuclear deal last year.
He said
then-
nuclear. I'm so proud of
Nuclear.
you, Paul.
And then, so basically, Iran's like, well, hey, I'm going to bounce out too. We're going to bounce out of this deal. We didn't like it. The United States pulled out, blah, blah, blah. I guess Obama had some shit going on. He gave Iran billions of dollars before he left office for some reason. All this other stuff. So now, and I've already told both of you this, but I'm just shedding light to our subscribers. Basically, I'm losing my train of thought right now. I had this big tangent I was going to go on.
Go on it.
Yeah. So, anyways, with all that being said, Iran pulled out. So we basically said, hey, like, don't pull out. If you do that, you back to the deal. We're going to put sanctions on you. You're not going to be able to sell your oil anymore. They're one of the largest exports in oil in the world. And not only that, they control the Strait of Hormuz, which is it produces that strait because it's in a gulf. And then that strait leads out to where they send all the oil. And they said they're going to close that down if the United States puts sanctions on them. So they haven't done it yet, and when that happens, that's when you're going to see the war, 100%, because China is the biggest and largest export of oil from Iran. And now China is allegedly not allowed to take any oil from Iran, or they're going to face consequences from the United States, because we're the ones who said, hey, no more of that.
I still feel this is, once again, talking out of my ass here. 100% like, take it all with a grain of salt. Don't fucking judge me for this. I'm just some random fucking person. But like, what are the biggest resources in life? We've talked about this before. Land. Land is huge.
Very big.
There's only
everybody has all the land though.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, exactly.
Everybody has all the
everybody
land.
already. Let me
Queen
finish.
Elizabeth, man.
Let
Queen
me finish.
Elizabeth.
Everybody already has the land.
Everybody
Your
has all the
resources are
land.
land, and then human beings, population. So you have World War II that was fought over human beings, population, the rights of other people, people not having fucking genocide and atrocities committed against them, and so on and so forth. And then you have a lot of great wars before that, and invasions in Sparta and Greece and fucking Alexander the Great and all this different shit that were about conquering and taking land. We're at a point where we're looking at oil to power cars and shit. This is an economic thing. That's it. That's all it is. Which isn't that important.
Or, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I love how you just said that. That's beautiful. Or there's something more deep that we don't even know about.
Which
that-
would go back to what I said about behind
So-
closed doors stuff, that it won't matter to us anyways. I mean, it will matter as in it will affect our lives long run, but you'll never hear about it
Right.
until it's already done.
There's a lot of good movies about, not even good movies, but there's a lot of movies like about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan that shit came out and it basically was about oil. We didn't find weapons of mass destruction.
That's
all that
the whole
bullshit.
point now, though.
And I think I've said this in a few podcasts. I don't know how many people know it, but where Iraq is, that's ancient Sumer. That was the first civilization allegedly that we know of.
I thought was Mesopotamia not before Sumer?
No, it's pre-Mesopotamia.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So alleged, from what I've heard from accounts, and I don't know how much of any of this is true. You know, I'd have to do some more research and shit like that. But whenever we went into Iraq and we had war with them and we invaded their country, like I said, I don't know how true this is. It's just what I've heard, that we ransacked all of their ancient artifacts and stuff like that. All of it. We went exploring, looking for caves, all that shit. So it could be the same for Iran. I'm not saying that's the case, but this is a very sacred ground where a lot of shit went down in the very early times. Who knows? Could be something else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that has to do with a lot of anything.
I'm saying that maybe that's why we're going to war with the Middle East, because there's a lot of ancient shit that went on there.
That's some Indiana Jones shit, bro. That's
Yeah,
some
I mean-
Indiana Jones shit.
I still go back to the land and people thing. Like
I like that.
a real war, if we were really up to it and wanted to go to fucking hardcore war, we're either saving people's lives, changing people's lives because of genocides and all this shit, or we're conquering and taking over actual land. Like, you want to talk a real war? I'm not. I should state in advance that when I say a real war, like, obviously I feel bad for any troops that die over there and any shit. I'm not belittling what is happening right now. I'm just saying that you want to talk about war would be like us actually invading Mexico or Canada to expand the United States of America and gain more foothold for our government of actual land and population.
But allegedly, the New World Order is just about a one world government, and everyone's able to
We're
travel freely.
already at that with economy and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But we don't need to go any farther than what we're doing right now, because they should be separate. For sure, they should be separate.
Oh yeah, well I still
the
think
same way the
we've talked about
states
how
in the
states
United-
should be separate.
The state should be separate from the government, because then you have these safety nets involved to where it is a disconnection from power to the individual is all you're doing whenever you have that. So in no sense do I ever and I support a world economy, absolutely a world economy, because that will always fucking happen, because you should be trading with other countries in all this, and there needs to be all of that, but you cannot have it so connected to where all this power can just funnel to a small amount of people, because it's already overpowered
I mean,
to
that
the
already
1%
happens.
anyway.
Yeah.
But it's already so. Could you imagine how bad it would be if we all of a sudden there wasn't Missouri anymore and there wasn't Kansas and it was just America, like just one connected fucking continent with just like
You always. I think that won't happen in our lifetime, where there's not states
no,
and shit like
no.
that. There's
we
no way.
we need to keep things more.
If anything, it needs
more
to separate
because
more.
It's a safety net, absolutely, because it's a safety net to prevent a bunch of shit from happening, and because so many people's ideals, and I can't say that somebody across the world has different morality than I do. I can't hate on them for having a different morality. They grew up in a different culture. They should have the right to live the way that they live, and I'll support that shit. in the same way that we need to be supported for the way that we feel as though we need to live here and support them as well. The fact that it's separate in this does not make it a bad thing, but it does need to have its separation. Obviously, everybody has general morality that everybody lives to. You shouldn't harm another individual. You should never suppress another individual. But the way that we come up, we have different ideals. We need to support other people and also be able to have our own ideals too.
At the end of the day, what affects you directly, Paul, besides like a nuclear blast or something like that would affect everybody kind of thing, don't you just care, or shouldn't you just care a lot more? You only have a finite life to live. You're only going to live to be so many years old. Hopefully you live to be 99 years old, 100 years old, whatever. You're only going to live that long. Shouldn't you care more about you and your family and Phoenix and little baby Travago that's on the way? I'm trying to get you sponsors right now for your podcast.
For sure.
Travago. That's your baby's name. So on and so forth. Like, no, but you should care. Obviously, you want people to be all right all over the world. But at the end of the day, you don't have an effect on that. And I feel like you only have so long to live. You should really be focusing on the well-being of your friends, your family, your neighbors, small scale. When you start thinking, there's nothing wrong with large scale, but when you start thinking too large scale into things, you get to a point where it's almost depressing. You can't reach that far without just coming into.
What would you say to people before World War II happened or before World War I happened, and they had that in the back of their heads that hey, maybe this might happen. I need to look out for my family. I don't know what I'm going to do in this situation if it happens, and then it happens, man. We are not control of our lives. Anything could happen at any given time. And if they want to go to war, and that's exactly what they want, then they're going to go to war, and it's going to affect a lot of people, just like it did in World War I and World War II.
Nobody's ever in control of their surroundings. The only thing you're given is how to react to
exactly.
scenarios.
And so
that's any human being, though, in any point in time in history.
Yeah. And to answer your question, man, like I do those things for the most part. But there's always that thing in the back of my head that says, hey, Paul, like you need to be ready for anything and everything. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just my will to live and be a part of this existence. But my family included, like if anything were to happen, like I just want to be ready, man. I don't know why I'm geared that way. I don't know why I'm geared that way. But for the most part, like 95% of the way I live my life, it's legitimately exactly, caring about my friends, my family, doing anything and everything I can to spend time with my family. But that other 5%, man, it's getting ready for if some crazy shit were to happen.
But even that other 5% is for yourself and your family.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know where I was going with the end of all that, to be honest with you. I was just saying, like, I guess my whole point is not to get so grandeur with everything, so grandiose, like just thinking of everything on such a large scale. Like, obviously what happens in China affects my life directly in some way, shape, or form over the years. But what happens in China, I do not have a direct effect on. So all I can do is be ready to adapt to what happens.
And buy or sell Sony stock,
Yeah, sure.
That's,
I think that's Japan, but yeah.
Oh, my bad.
They're not all the same.
So what would you guys say to people out there? Oh, man, I had a question. I don't know what's going on.
I'm going to do a shot while you think about it.
I mean, what would you say to people? Okay, yeah. So basically, Jesse, the way that you had said it, that they're okay, it all comes down to programming, and that's exactly what they're doing. You have the control over everyone's minds. And I feel like that there are a lot of people out there, and not everyone's on YouTube. The population of America is 350 million people, and the only time you see that amount of views on any sort of video on YouTube is music videos.
I mean, that's a terrible comparison. The number of people that exist compared to the number of views that exist on a video?
That's not where I was going. What I'm saying, like, to reach out to people, for people to be aware of what is going on, how do we win back the minds of those people who they've taken control over? Is my question. And I'm saying on the YouTube aspect, whenever you see 350 million views,
in the simplest manner that I can put it, people look too much outward. They look at the news, they look at entertainment, they look at even the shit that we enjoy that we probably take too seriously, like football, because all of us here fucking probably take football a little fucking too seriously. What we don't do is we don't look inward enough on ourselves. in the attempt to develop ourselves as better human beings, really sit back, reflect, meditate. We've talked about meditating on this podcast. Really sit back and look at ourselves as individuals and who we are, and having a good understanding of ourself. Like, know thyself, right?
So
Like,
I don't mean to
so
interrupt you, but
you're talking about an intellectual thing.
not okay. So what I'm saying is like the propaganda is absolutely out of control. You know, like the way that they can do it, whatever they want and say whatever they want to control the minds, because that's the war on the minds, like you said.
Absolutely.
As opposed, I guess I'm not asking for an explanation from you on what you think. I'm saying, how do we truly take back the minds of those people? How,
the individuals, and it doesn't. It's
how
not
would-
like a
how-
taking back the minds. The
how would you
individuals
spread
need
that-
to be
how would you
become
spread-
self-aware.
How would you spread that message, though?
You
is
can't
what I'm
spread. You
asking.
can't spread that message.
No, that's impossible. You have to educate the person and then say, "Hey, quit looking at everything else. You're the one making these decisions. You have to surrender the outcome at some point, right? Like at some point in your life, you just have to say, "Okay, I'm living in this world. I had no decision to live here. I was born in this world, but I am me. I have no control over everything else outside of me. I can only decide how I react to them. I have to surrender the outcome. Focus inward upon yourself and being the best human being that you can be." And if you have all these individuals throughout the world sit back and get rid of all the bullshit, all the economics, all the fucking social media, all the shit, and just sit back and sit there yourself and really fucking have this inward thinkingness to where it's not just what is everybody else doing, what's happening here. Focus on your like this that's here, that's existing right now, and you just take some time on that, then everybody would be better off. Everybody would be better off. Like even in a meditating, like just sit there and be like, okay, who was I today? Who was I like? Am I okay with that? Where am I upset with who I was? Be developmental within yourself. Be your own critic. Don't look for the Kardashians to decide, hey, what your morality is. Decide your own morality, because you're already doing that anyway. But it's the influences you allow to come in. Quit allowing all those influences to come in. All the fucking media, all the shit. No, you already have that in us. I believe that thoroughly. We all have this shit within us that can guide us through some places. And obviously, like, effects of environment have some shit, like good influences. But you get to decide that in the end. You get to decide what you let in. What you get to, cast aside and be like, you know what, I'm not going to pay attention to this because this is warmongering. Or this is just bad influence right here. Like, if I hang around these people, man, they just fucking, they do a bunch of drugs, they fucking do bad shit. I'm not going to hang out with them because they're a bad fucking influence. You're already making those decisions as an individual. I think you can deeper, and improve upon that. You just sit down, get rid of all the shit for a while, and just think about who you want to be as a person. And are you okay with you right now? Because I'm pretty sure very few people, actually no one,
I was gonna say nobody's
No
okay with.
no one would be able to sit down and be like, dude, I'm 100% perfect. If I had an individual sit down and say, hey, man, I have everything right, I'd be like, no.
No, I mean there'd be people out there who would say that, but they'd be lying to you.
Exactly.
If you had an individual sit in their
Because
by their self in their room alone.
the human construct is flawed. Because the human construct is flawed.
How do you and I know you said
But-
you can't spread this message, but how do people do this? How do we get everyone to do this?
You can't get everybody to do it. That it doesn't work that
How
way.
do you get
We're too distracted.
How do you get 10% of people to do this?
What do you mean?
By a
You keep going
podcast?
to, you keep going to how do you get people to do, Paul, you can't get people to do this
Well,
because
Johnny, that's false, because there is a government that was able to propagate and take control over everyone's mind. So there is a way, because they took that way and
to
they
what,
did it and they
change
control everyone.
people to think for themselves and so on and so forth.
Well-
Us trying to do this right now, you could say, "Oh, let our podcast get bigger. Let's get bigger and more successful, and let's change people to think for themselves and so on and so forth." Right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say all that, but at the end of the day, even we are propaganda in a shape or form, because we may be telling people something, and then they decide to agree with Jesse, and they're like, "You know what? I think I'm going to meditate." What if themselves, they don't want to meditate? What if that's not the real fucking them? We are propaganda right now. moving this on. And eventually, down the
Yeah,
road,
I disagree.
No,
with
the
that too,
difference.
yeah.
No, I disagree too, because the difference is what is
everything, us doing this podcast right now changes people's thoughts about. You're talking just focus on yourself and like do things for yourself and so on and so forth and like inner peace and meditation, all this different stuff and whatnot. We're a form of propaganda. It, as evil as that sounds.
It's okay. Not in the sense of being so narcissistic and you need to focus on yourself.
And we'll eventually move on to advertisement and so on and so
what
forth
I'm saying
to make
is,
money for this podcast.
Is have some time to get away from all the bullshit. Think about who you are as a person. There is okay. You're right. This is biased, what I'm about to say. This is biased.
That's my point. If you influence one person right now, if you influence a single person who listens to this, then you're technically also part of the problem because they may have not want to been influenced by you.
Then this whole thing, and once again, is structured as far as all of humanity, is you look at a flawed human complex. A flawed human complex with all these different scenarios that could literally be just this paradox of, oh man, you can be good up until a certain point and you just trying to be good, and the next thing you know, you look back at the bottom and all you've done is fuck some people over. Even though it was the smallest amount of people, you still fucked people over through this fucking like spiral of going up. Like you stepped on some people at some point because of your decisions. Even in your best attempt to be the best human being, like Crow said this. He talked about the worm and in this process of life. There is going to be some negative within life. I think this is very, very Zen, like the yin and the yang. Like there is evil within good and good within evil to an extent because you attempting to be the best, the truly moral best, somebody will still get hurt, right? There will always be some negative in any positive. Right?
If we were to spread this message and reach it to millions of people, and there's nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form, because at the end of the day, if we were to make money off this podcast, that would be fine. I would be completely okay with that. Sure, whatever. But right now, it's been a year. We haven't made any money, and we're still doing it every single week. So if we were to make money, I feel like next week, if we had 1 million views and we made $14,000 and we split it 3 ways, we would still come here next week and we would still have a podcast and our minds wouldn't change in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not saying they would change.
And I know that. But at the same time, what I'm saying is that these people have took control over people's minds, or all of our minds, and they are trying to lead it into a direction. And regardless of what Jesse said or not, if that is correct or not, if that was the path that we chose to go and stopping that propaganda and turn it into another direction and go the opposite way.
Which is just a different form of propaganda.
Okay, that's fine. But if we were able to, and I know this is far out, but if we were able to just transcend from that point and actually develop as humans, because I don't know if you guys agree with me on this or not, but we're not like progressing as a human species right now.
Really?
Absolutely, we are.
We definitely
are. What are you talking
I'm
about?
saying on a spiritual level, man. Right? Maybe a select few people, but when you have this many millions of people who are sucking in all this propaganda, watching the news every single day, being obese, having diabetes, we have third world countries that don't have clean water. Like, dude, we're not progressing as a civilization in any way, shape, or form.
On a spiritual level, because spiritual level is opinionated.
Even as a civilization, we're not.
Because nobody's ever really truly gone there and came back.
If there's a type 1 or type 2 or type 3 or type 4 civilization, we are 0. We're not even 1 yet.
I mean, even you keep talking about this propaganda and so on and so forth, and even you not realizing that, and like maybe this is getting way too fucking quote unquote meta for it and whatnot, but everything, when you think about it that way, everything is some type of propaganda or outside influence on you.
Right.
Even Jesse, like 3 minutes ago on his spiel, brought up some stuff that's very worthwhile, and yet at the same time is propaganda, and changed his fucking viewpoint when he brought up yin and yang.
But
yin and yang was fucking taught to him. He didn't come up with yin and yang.
But
the fucking white and the black and the evil and the good and all this different stuff.
Okay,
that was taught to him.
That's fine. But there are more. The way you grow up and the way that you learn, there are certain things when in that process that just happen naturally. Just because someone said it doesn't mean that just because that person said it now it's propaganda. No, that's bullshit, man. That's absolute bullshit. Things exist without us having to be here. And then when you grow up and you learn that experience, and not even learn it, but it just happens. Like, what I'm saying is when you grow up, things just happen. And just because a human being said it before you doesn't mean it's propaganda. I disagree with that.
No, I mean,
100%.
I'm not saying it's propaganda in that sense. I'm just saying you have to, if you're using it as a broader term of what that is then. I'm talking about propaganda in the sense, propaganda is not the right word here, but in the sense of going back to the beginning of this fucking conversation, in the sense of influencing individuals. You talk about them influencing us through propaganda, through capitalism, and through like advertisement, all this different stuff. That's everything you learn in life. Everything you learn influences your decisions and who you are in some way, shape, or form. So you could say that these giant companies are doing the worst of it, which they are, but in a sense, whether we think it's good or morally correct, or we think it's morally wrong, that's what we're doing right at this moment. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's happening constantly around us. That's called taking in information. That's called learning and just like becoming a different person
So I guess
than what you currently are.
a different question would be, how do we change that learning process? You know, from what we're learning.
That's how we
can't.
learn
You
as
can't.
humans.
That's it. That's it. You are given your environment.
Fuck this environment.
No,
I know you guys
no.
would agree with me on this.
No, it's a
environment.
blessing. It's a blessing in the end. It's a blessing in the end because you got to live life. You know what I think is going to be laughable? I think in a spiritual sense is strictly my own opinion. Everybody don't even listen to me. Like, this is my own opinion. I think that in the same way that you had an embarrassing moment, like maybe 5 fucking years ago. Everybody has those moments whenever you're driving in your car and you're alone and a random memory fucking pops up in your head.
Oh
and you're
man,
like,
I can't believe I did that.
Fucking, I can't believe I fucking did that shit. I can't believe I said that to that girl fucking trying to be cool and shit. It's super embarrassing. Dude, this life is going to be like that. I kid you not. We're going to look back on this on some higher fucking level and literally laugh. And that was our mentality. Like, we're going to, on a bigger scale, because I really do. I really do. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I'm a deist in the end. I'm a deist. But I really think we're going to have some, like, looking back kind of thing of that embarrassing memory of like, oh man, really? That's what I thought it was? And that's what I took so seriously? And that's what I thought was really important? And no, man, it was really this. It's really, and I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Everybody's trying to figure out what this is, but we'll get there. I think everybody will get there. And I think everybody almost like look back and laugh and just kind of be like, "Oh man,
I'm cool with that.
really? That's what that was?
I'm cool with
like,
that.
That's what that was?
I'm cool with that 100%, man. But I think that there's a better way for that ride to happen. Like,
Absolutely.
I think somewhere within the civilization and where we ended up today, it definitely took a wrong turn, man. They veered
We're
left.
designed
and
to
we were supposed
progress
go
it.
right.
We're designed to progress it.
That's what everybody always says,
No,
though, is
but-
it took a wrong turn, or we did this wrong, or we did that wrong. Like, you can't... there's no wrong or right the way that we took a path as humanity. It's just the path that we've taken.
I know that, but somewhere something had to have gone wrong, man.
Why?
What do you mean, why? I mean, it's easy for us to say this, and
If everything went fucking right, then there'd be no
I'm-
conflict, and we
I'm-
would never
no, no,
reach
no,
that
no,
fucking
no, no, no,
point
no,
of...
no. I'm not trying to say everything has to be right. I'm not saying that at all. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying everything has to be right and this has to be utopia. What I'm saying is somewhere we went wrong to the point where all I would ask is that everyone could live the same life that we live. That's it. Like, everyone could buy a house.
That is a utopia.
I wouldn't
No,
curse
no, no,
them.
no,
I
no,
wouldn't
no.
curse them
No,
to
no,
my
no,
life.
Not a utopia. Like, if you were to
I
go
wouldn't
to
curse them to my life. There are worse lives than mine, obviously.
No,
like,
but-
people who have lived like much worse lives than me, obviously.
and I'm not wishing this life upon anyone, but what I'm saying is
I
I wish
better. I want better for people.
I wish
than
everyone
what I've done.
I wish everyone had access to
And
clean,
every year, people are getting better and better, right? We're living in the best time in humanity possible. That's why I'm saying it's human.
You don't even know if that's a true statement.
that is a very much a true statement.
No, it's not.
That is very much a true statement. Look
You're
at
saying
look
there's
at
no
where
way
you
that
are
people
right now,
in the
sitting
fucking
here.
Middle Ages had it better than we have right now.
I don't know. I didn't live in that age.
It's easy to fucking tell.
Go to a third world country.
We have the
and
best
you tell
medicine.
You tell me if
we
it's
have
better
the highest.
there.
Okay, we have the highest population that the Earth has ever been. You know what that says?
No one knows that. No one knows that. They had a census report, Jesse, 6,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 3,000. They had a census report.
How can you argue that?
How do you know
How
that?
can you argue that?
How do you know that?
How do you know
that
people,
it's the
how do you-
highest population it's ever been?
Paul,
You know what
that-
that tells me? People are living longer.
Paul, that logic literally just says, how do you know people breathed oxygen
I'm not
fucking
saying-
4,000 years ago? How do you know people breathed oxygen?
Okay, sure. How do you know that?
That's you. When you start asking questions like that, that's getting absurd.
No, it's not absurd. Obviously, Johnny, we all breathe oxygen. You have to
and
breathe
obviously
oxygen.
the population is higher now than it's ever been.
That's absurd in what you just said. How, bro? Really?
Given
you're
the
gonna you're gonna compare oxygen to a
you
census
think
report?
you
Get
think
the
there
fuck
was a
outta
higher
here.
population 500 years ago?
I don't know. I wasn't here 500 years ago.
There would be remnants of it. Guess what? We have remnants of population from back then.
There's catastrophes. 12,000 years ago, there was an asteroid that hit the Earth, and no one knows what the population was 12,000 years ago.
Do you know what
There
allows
was-
our
there- hold-
population?
Hold on,
Do you know
hold
what
on.
allows our
Hold on,
population?
hold on, hold on.
Science
Hold
and
on.
building
Jesse,
buildings that
Jesse,
hold people.
Jesse, buildings
within certain areas.
What kind of buildings? Buildings like the ancient pyramids that we don't even know how to build right now.
There weren't rooms.
Are you kidding me?
There weren't rooms
Jesse,
like how there are
Jesse,
in the fucking.
Hold on. Do you know who Graham Hancock is? Do you know who he is? He's literally been writing books for like 15, 20 years.
Okay.
And in the Amazons, they said that there were millions and millions and millions, maybe even billions of people in the Amazon. But for some reason,
Billions of people in the
yes,
Amazon.
and for some reason they just vanished because they said that there was some sort
Billions
of plague.
of people.
Yes, and now they have planes that have some sort of penetrating radar to actually find structures that are within the Amazon jungle to find massive spaces of where people used to live. There was something cataclysmic that hit this earth 12,000 years ago, and no one knows what the fuck it was, and no one knows what the population was. So for you to sit here and tell me that the population is the greatest it's ever been,
So
no
this
one knows
one
the answer
guy-
to that question.
So this one guy has
Not
now
even-
changed.
No,
this
not-
one guy
no,
has now
it's-
changed.
no.
All of fucking everything that all of historians have ever said, all of everything that natural progression has fucking said. This one guy knows different though.
It's not just one guy; it's a multiple of people.
That's a cultist mentality.
It's
you
not
have.
a cult. You were in
You
a
have a
cultist.
cultist
you were,
mentality.
You're in a cultist mentality. You
You have
believe
a cultist
you,
fucking
You
mentality.
believe in all.
I kid you. I
hold
kid
on,
you fucking
hold
not.
on,
You believe in the fucking.
Jesse, listen to yourself.
I,
You sit
I
here-
am listening to myself.
You believe in all the historians?
all the historians that have
believe in
everything.
them? What about-
Everything
what-
is accurate. Don't get me wrong.
What about all
History is
the-
written by the winner, and I know it's fucking convoluted to some extent, but we are still a product of it. And I can tell you right now, things are better than what they were, and that's simple to see. That is simple to see. Things are better than what they were. People are living longer. People have opportunity. This new generation, sadly to say, my generation, the millennials are so angry at fucking shit. Oh, they're angry at fucking how money works and shit. No, you need to get your fucking shit together because money can fucking work for you in the fucking end. Don't be angry at this shit. We have the best opportunity that society has ever given to individuals like me and you. The literally bottom class. I have a fucking felony. I came from a middle class fucking family, didn't have shit, fucking barely anything. Like, dropped out of fucking high school. I'm doing very well for myself because I work hard and I fucking live beneath my fucking means. There's opportunity fucking here. And I will be fucking great one day within my own shit because I work hard for
There's
it.
always been opportunity for everyone. You just have to take advantage of the situation.
Exactly. And that's what you can do. I don't want to hear some like if anybody was going to be taken advantage of, it's fucking me. I don't let people take advantage of me. I will not. I take advantage of my scenario always. I don't want to hear this. Oh man, I can't fucking do it because society is fucking. No, you decided to go to college and fucking get super fucking in debt and fuck your fucking self. Is what you decided to do without a whim, without your parents telling you, hey, maybe you shouldn't just go get fucking $200 of fucking debt on some fucking shit and ruin your fucking life. I'm not about that fucking shit. God, I'm going off on a fucking huge tangent
It's
right
like
now.
this
I'm
is
super
way
heated.
different than
Yeah.
like
I
A
know.
lot different.
No. But I don't want to hear that shit that we are not in the best time to fucking live. It's clear. You have a phone in your hand. You have a hospital that if you were like 500 years from now, if you just got stabbed, you'd probably just be fucked, right? You'd just be fucked. Guess
I mean,
what? You'd
yeah,
probably
like 500 years from before, not from now.
what from before.
You're saying, like,
you'd probably be able to
previous.
fucking stay alive because of that fucking hospital that's right down the road. The infrastructure that's here right now. All these basic fucking medicines that are here. You could say a bunch of fucking shit against it. We live in the best time that's ever been is right now.
And on Earth, I don't agree.
Okay, sorry. let me rephrase. We've lived in the best time that's ever been for at least the last 12,000 years. So when I bring up the medieval period and the fucking 1400s and shit in the 13th century and so on and so
Then yes,
forth.
I have to agree with that statement. Yes.
I'm not talking about fucking 12,000 years ago when aliens ruled the goddamn earth, Paul. I'm talking about in our known fucking history.
For sure, yeah.
We are the best that we can be.
Yeah, I mean, according to the Bible, maybe not. The Garden of Eden would have been fun. That would have been fun.
No, there's no women. It's just
I mean,
you
there was
yourself
one-
jerking off, man. Literally, you yourself fucking jerking off in the Garden of Eden. Jesus Christ, man. I'm sorry.
All
I
right.
got
Well,
into
I think
finance.
we're gonna end it on that, man. We're getting.
Is
close
that
to-
really a fucking hour?
It's close to it. 55 minutes, man. But I'm gonna yeah.
Jesus.
I'm gonna
Hot
leave
shit.
it on that.
I felt like we just yelled and talked about.
I'm sorry.
Towards
I loved
the
it.
end.
No, I
sorry
loved
called
it.
you
I
a
loved it.
cultist. I'm sorry I called you a cultist. I feel like a dick.
No,
just
dude,
shake
I'm
my hand.
chilling, dude.
No, I feel bad.
I'm
though. I
chilling.
feel bad. I got
I'm chilling
heated.
hard.
That was aggressive terminology. I
It
used.
wasn't aggressive at all, man.
Paul, you're a cultist.
Thank you. I disagree, you know,
Yeah,
and that
no, I know.
beautiful
I know.
thing
I'm
about being a
sorry.
human being is I can
I feel
disagree.
bad about it. 'Cause Paul's my brother for life. I die for Paul.
Truth.
In a heartbeat. I
Truth.
feel bad about that statement.
You know,
that
I
made.
I
What
wouldn't-
is it in your morality right now that makes you feel like you have to apologize and say all these fucking things to this person?
I
that you
love Paul,
disagree
and
with?
I
No, I'm
and I-
saying, what
agree.
is that,
I
though?
agree
I
with
know,
Johnny.
I know.
What
That-
is that,
that-
though, that
that's
makes
just-
us fucking do that?
Because I was heated. No, because I was heated, and in all honesty, if I wasn't under the circumstance, I
But
wouldn't have
there's
said it
something
like that.
there's something
I
in
wouldn't have said it like that.
society right now that tells you that you have to do that to remain like okay. What is it in you right now that can't just say
I don't-
fuck you, Paul, and never see him again?
I don't think
There's
it's
something.
No,
it's
that's
not society.
Yeah,
Just-
it's not society.
it's just a-
that's my own. That's my own thing.
Yeah, no,
and that's
and
me.
I
That's
wouldn't
just
say
me.
that either.
That's me
I'm just-
internally.
There
That's
was
me
one
internally.
conversation Johnny and I had after the podcast, and we argued pretty heavily. And
Afterwards,
and-
not in the podcast.
no, during the podcast we
Oh,
argued
yeah.
heavily, and then we went outside, and I was like, Johnny, I said I fucking love that shit. I said no matter how heated we get towards each other in a podcast, dude, I love it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it's dude,
That's what it's about.
If you wouldn't have brought that up, I'd never even would have thought of it ever again. Because this is a podcast, man, and I love it.
Conflict breeds resolve.
Yeah. Anyways, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, hit the like button to all our junkies out there.
Stay fly and ring the bell.